I'm 73 years old, and I want you to stop whatever you're doing for just a moment and really hear this. It took me 52 years to learn one simple truth, and by the time it finally sank in, more than half my life was already gone. I don't say that to sound dramatic. I say it because if you're younger than me right now, you still have what I wasted time. And once it's gone, there are no refunds. For most of my life, I believed I had plenty of time. Time to fix things. Time to chase dreams. Time to say what needed to be said. I kept telling myself, I'll do it later. Later when I'm less busy. Later when the kids grow up. Later when I make more money. Later when I feel ready. And years passed. Then decades passed. And one day I looked in the mirror and realized later had quietly turned into never. Here's what took me 52 years to truly understand. Life doesn't reward potential intentions or plans. It only responds to action. I spent years waiting to feel confident before trying, waiting to feel fearless before changing, waiting for the perfect moment that never came. The truth is, confidence doesn't come first, action does. Courage isn't something you find. It's something you build by doing the things you're scared to do. I also learned that approval is one of the most expensive things you can chase. I wasted so much energy trying to live in a way that made other people comfortable. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I stayed quiet when I should have spoken up. I lived smaller than I was meant to, all because I was afraid of disappointing people who, in the end, weren't living my life anyway. And when you get older, you realize something painful but freeing for most people busy with their own worries to remember your mistakes. Another thing no one tells you when you're young is how fast ordinary days become memories. One day you're rushing through life, and the next you're wishing you could go back to one random Tuesday just to feel it again. The laughter, the noise, the chaos you once complained about becomes the thing you miss the most. That's when you understand that happiness was never waiting in the future. It was hiding in the moments you rush past. So if there's something you've been putting off, something your heart keeps whispering to you, please don't ignore it. Say the words, take the risk, make the call, start the thing. You don't need permission, and you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start while you still can. Time is the most valuable resource you will ever have, yet it's the one most people treat as if it's unlimited. When you're young, time feels generous, almost endless, like something you can borrow from tomorrow without consequences. You tell yourself you'll start later, you'll change later, you'll take the risk later, because today feels too busy, too uncomfortable, or too uncertain. The dangerous part is that later feels responsible. It sounds practical, it sounds like patience. But most of the time, later is just fear wearing a reasonable mask. I spent decades believing I had more time than I actually did. I thought time would wait for me to feel ready, confident, or secure enough to move forward. I assumed there would always be another chance, another year, another season to fix what I avoided. But time doesn't slow down because you're unsure. It doesn't pause because you're scared or tired or overwhelmed. It keeps moving, quietly, relentlessly, whether you're paying attention or not. What no one tells you is how sneaky wasted time really is. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like a loss while it's happening. It hides in routines, in distractions, in the comfort of what's familiar. You don't wake up one day and realize you wasted a year. You wake up and realize 20 or 30 years are gone, and you're not where you thought you'd be. That's when the weight hits. That's when you understand that time wasn't taken from you. You handed it away in small, daily decisions to wait. Every "I'll do it someday" has a cost. Every delayed conversation, postponed dream, or ignored instinct is a trade you make with your future self, and your future self will eventually look back and wish you had been braver sooner. The painful truth is that most regrets aren't about what we did wrong, but about what we never tried at all. The businesses never started, the love never pursued, the words never spoken, the life never fully lived. Time doesn't care about your plans or intentions. It only responds to what you do today. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you may spend your entire life waiting. And one day, without warning, later becomes never. Most people believe they need confidence before they can take action, but that belief quietly keeps them stuck for years. I believed it too. I thought that one day I would wake up feeling ready, fearless and certain, and that would be the signal to finally move forward. But that day never came. Confidence is not a starting point, it's a result. It grows after you act, not before. Waiting to feel confident is like waiting to be strong before you ever lift a weight. Action is uncomfortable by nature. If it feels easy, it's usually because you've done it before. The first step always feels awkward, messy, and uncertain, and that discomfort often gets mistaken for failure or a sign you're not meant to do it. In reality, discomfort is proof that you're learning something new. Courage isn't a personality trait that some people are born with and others aren't. It's a muscle, and like any muscle, it only grows when you use it. For years, I avoided opportunities because I didn't feel ready. I told myself I needed more knowledge, more experience, more reassurance. But what I really needed was to take the step I was afraid of. Every time I avoided action, I taught myself that fear was in control. And every time I finally acted despite fear, even in small ways, something changed. I didn't suddenly become fearless, but I became capable. I learned that fear doesn't disappear when you move forward. It just gets quieter when you stop obeying it. Life doesn't reward good intentions. You can want change with all your heart and still stay exactly where you are. Dreams don't respond to planning alone, and growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. The people you admire most aren't braver because they're special. They're braver because they started before they felt ready. They stumbled, failed, adjusted, and kept going while others were still waiting for permission. Every action you take builds evidence that you can handle more than you think. Each small step strengthens your belief in yourself, not because everything works out, but because you learn you can survive when it doesn't. Confidence is built through repetition, not reassurance. And the moment you understand that action creates courage, not the other way around, you stop waiting for life to begin and start meeting it head-on. Chasing approval can quietly shape your entire life if you're not careful, and most people don't even realize it's happening. From a young age, we learn to read the room, to adjust ourselves so we're accepted, praised, or at least not judged. Over time, that habit becomes a way of living. You start making choices based on how they'll be received instead of whether they're right for you. I spent years doing that, shrinking parts of myself so others would feel more comfortable, thinking that was the price of belonging. The problem with living for approval is that it slowly disconnects you from your own voice. You stop trusting your instincts and start looking outward for validation. Every decision becomes a performance, and every step forward feels risky because someone might not like it. The exhausting part is that the finish line keeps moving. No matter how hard you try, there will always be someone who disagrees, disapproves, or misunderstands you. And the older you get, the clearer it becomes that sacrificing your happiness doesn't actually guarantee acceptance. I learned too late that most people are far more focused on their own insecurities than on judging your choices. The fear of being criticized feels massive in your head, but in reality, it rarely matters for long. People move on, opinions fade, and the ones who truly care about you don't require you to abandon yourself to keep their approval. The painful irony is that by trying to please everyone, you often end up pleasing no one, including yourself. Living for approval also steals your time. It keeps you stuck in situations you've outgrown, saying yes when your heart is screaming no, and holding back ideas, dreams, and truths that deserve to be expressed. Each time you silence yourself, you reinforce the belief that your needs matter less. Over decades, that adds up to a life that feels safe on the outside, but empty on the inside. Freedom begins the moment you accept that not everyone will understand you, and that's okay. Your life is not a group project. The courage to disappoint others is often the same courage required to be honest with yourself. And when you finally stop asking for permission to be who you are, you realize the approval you were searching for was never meant to come from them in the first place. One of the strangest and most painful realizations that comes with age is how quickly ordinary days disappear. When you're living them, they don't feel special at all. They feel repetitive, exhausting, even boring at times. You rush through mornings, complain about the noise, the mess, the responsibilities, always focused on what's next. I did that for years, thinking real happiness was waiting somewhere ahead, in a future version of life that would finally feel complete. What I didn't understand then was that those ordinary moments were quietly becoming memories. The laughter in the other room, the familiar routines, the conversations that seemed insignificant at the time, all carried a weight I couldn't see while they were happening. You don't realize how precious something is until it's no longer available to you. One day the house gets quieter, the phone rings less often, and the moments you once hurried through become the ones you'd give anything to experience again. Happiness isn't a permanent state you arrive at once everything is perfect. It's scattered throughout your life in small, easily overlooked pieces. It shows up in shared meals, in tired evenings, in conversations that don't seem important until years later. When you're constantly chasing the next milestone, you miss the life that's unfolding right in front of you. And when those moments are gone, no achievement can replace them. I spent too much time thinking I would appreciate life more once things slowed down. The truth is, appreciation is a skill you practice, not a reward you earn later. It requires presence. It means resisting the urge to constantly escape the moment you're in, even when it's messy or imperfect. Those moments are not obstacles to happiness. They are the substance of it, Time has a way of softening memories, turning what once felt stressful into something warm and meaningful. That's why people long for moments they once complained about. If you can learn to recognize the value of ordinary days while you're living them, you don't have to wait for nostalgia to teach you what mattered. Life isn't hiding in the future, it's happening now, quietly, in the moments you're tempted to rush past. There is a quiet voice inside you that knows what matters most, and for many years I ignored mine. It wasn't loud or demanding, it didn't shout for attention. It simply returned again and again, gently reminding me of the things I wanted to do, the words I wanted to say, the changes I knew I needed to make. I told myself there would be a better time, a clearer sign, a moment when everything felt safer. But that moment never arrived, and the voice never left. What I learned is that the things that matter most rarely feel convenient. They ask something of you. They require honesty, vulnerability, and often discomfort. The reason those ideas, dreams, or conversations keep coming back is because they're tied to who you are becoming. Ignoring them doesn't make them disappear. It only creates a quiet regret that grows over time. Each delay sends a message to yourself that your deeper needs can wait, even though they're the very things that give life meaning. Starting doesn't mean you need to have all the answers. I wasted years believing I needed certainty before moving forward. In reality, clarity often comes after you begin, not before. You learn by doing, adjusting, and sometimes failing. The cost of starting imperfectly is far smaller than the cost of never starting at all. Fear will always offer reasons to wait, but fear is not a reliable advisor when it comes to living fully. Saying the words you've been holding back, taking the risk you keep imagining, choosing a different path even when it scares you doesn't guarantee everything will work out. But it does guarantee that you'll be honest with yourself, and that honesty builds a kind of peace that comfort alone never can. Regret grows from silence and inaction far more than from mistakes. You don't need permission to begin. You don't need validation, and you don't need to be fearless. You only need to respect the fact that you are here now, and now is the only time you can act. Life doesn't wait for perfect conditions, it responds to movement. And the longer you ignore what your heart keeps asking for, the harder it becomes to answer. The chance to choose differently exists only while you still can. I'm 73 now, and I can't get those years back. But you're still here, still breathing, still capable of choosing differently. Don't wait 52 years to learn what I did. Life is shorter than you think, and the right time is almost always right now.